Continuing now the second paragraph of his Dalet, the Rebbe continues explaining the inyan of Ilah v'Olul. What you want to bring out is, on the one hand, the contrast, on the other hand, the closeness, the commonality. All to appreciate with greater insight the Yesh Ma'ayin, the radical creation that Yesh Ma'ayin is. So for Yuvan Yosef, if you have the same page numbers as I do, as the Sefer, it's page 70. For Yuvan Yosef, Ma'ilav Olol, the Seichel Lamidus, understand the point just said in the previous paragraph. We'll see this more in Seichel Lamidus. And that is that the Hamshacha is not from the etzem of the cause, not only a ha'ara, and yet that ha'ara is bislapshus, is invested. Sheheim, Seichel and Midas are beis mehusim hafchim, two opposite entities. Sharei, ba'asagas ha'seichel nirgash ha'toiv shel etzem ha'dava. When you understand something in the world of intellect alone, so there is an emotion there. There's an enjoyable experience, but the enjoyable experience at the level of pure intellect is grasping the beauty of the idea, as opposed to, oh, I finally got it and I feel good that I got it. Pure intellect is, there's a pleasure and there's a midah, there's an emotion there, which is why Seichel produces emotions, because it's different worlds, but only relatively different worlds. The Seichel, a particular ideal, will produce a particular emotion. If something is good, it'll produce an emotion of wanting to be close to it. If something is awesome and fearful, it'll produce something an emotion that wants to be distant. So let's look at these emotions as they are in Seichel, as they are in Midas. So in Seichel itself, the person feels the good or the beauty or the maila of the actual idea. Emotions, however, feel stirred with respect to how that good thing affects me. Again, objective and subjective. So in Avodas Hashem, how does this translate in service of Hashem? So Seichel is the Herigesh der Kirves Elikim Tov. That being close to God is good, because God is good and God's the truth. Ubemidas, how does that translate in the heart and the emotions? That being close to God is good for me. So the objective truth or the subjective experience, which is also a truth. And because Seichel and Midas are so fundamentally different in the very makeup, objective versus subjective, they operate therefore very differently. Namely, intellect works coldly and is detached. And the world of emotion is warm and excited. Because in the world of emotion, since we're talking about how it affects me, since that's what the experience is, therefore the person is engaged, is warmed, and is excited in one way or another. So notwithstanding their very different worlds, it's not a radical process that intellect radically produces seichel, but it's a chain reaction, a process of cause and effect, or cause and result. Further exploring this. The true union of seichel ain't that masig bilvad. Even in the world of seichel, it's not just pure understanding. A very beautiful and subtle insight is coming here, friends, which is referred to, but now we'll elaborate on. Excuse me for a moment. So true seichel, the the emphasis here is true seichel, is not just that which a person understands alone. Ki im gam inyan hergish. In the world of seichel, there's a hergish. What's the hergish? The hergish, the feeling in the world of seichel is that it resonates, that it's true. That's not an intellectual thing. That comes from a much deeper place, in fact, in the nefesh, that it just resonates, that it's true. Because the emes is that every seichel can be, is subject to being disproven. No seichel is absolute. There's always, in the world of intellect itself, it's always questionable. So why do we accept things ultimately? It's because it resonates. Right? You can't really prove anything, really, intellectually. You can't prove that you're awake. You simply can't. And if you can't prove you're awake, that means you can't even prove that everything that you think is real is real. It may be just some dream. Everything, whatever's in your head, all of history and everything, it's one elaborate dream. As Descartes famously said, I think, therefore I am, which I believe that means that the only thing I can be certain of is that there's a thinker that entertains things. I could be imagining my body, but there's something that's doing the imagination. So that I'm pretty much certain of, although perhaps even I'm a figment in somebody else's imagination that's giving me the sense of independence. Even that's questionable. But that's the starting point. Now, of course, nobody believes that. Nobody believes, I hope none of us sitting around now, is seriously doubting whether you're awake or not. Why not? With all the empirical proof that you have, it really comes down to, it just doesn't resonate that I'm sleeping. That's the hergish of the seichel. That the seichel is true is not just, it's empirically true because I sense it. That's the hergish in seichel. Shemargish besichli sadova. This feeling that resonates, not an emotional thing. It's part of the world of intellect. So this hergish itself, which is a feeling, it's not a rational thing, but it's part of the world of moichin itself. So this resonates. Rather, this feeling, therefore, is not a personal thing. That's why, because he accepts it, so he feels the good, the truth of it, and he feels that. He experiences the truth of it, which means the beauty. If something is true, it's beautiful. Meaning to say, beautiful. I mean, something can be a complex truth, but where's the beauty? But the beauty lies in the truth. It is. There's something beautiful about what exists. But still, at the end of the day, all of this, I actually identified two levels this in Hergish. The level of it resonates that it's true, and then there is the emotional, you feel the goodness or the beauty of the idea. And this has many levels as well. When you often see, a person smiles, literally smiles when the idea is finally developed and you get it, there's a smile. That's an emotional thing. And that is that smile is not an intellectual response, it's an emotional one. But at this level, it's not a smile of this is good for me, what can I do with it, and how it's going to change me or whatever, how I can use this. It's just a smile at the neatness or the beauty of the idea, or how it resolves problems, whatever it is. So now, what does he say? What's he saying here? That this hergish, this emotion, we'll call it, that exists on the intellectual level, that's the source of the emotions that we feel then in the heart, which are purely subjective. Hergish haseichel hu ha'ila la'hamidus, and this sense, we'll call it a sense, feeling, maybe there's a better word somebody has, please share it. So this is the cause of...
Sorry, you didn't explain the point of hu b'kriras. I mean, or maybe I didn't get it. But b'kriras means it's objective, not subjective?
Kriras means cold, it's dispassionate, it's cool.
Okay.
So it means cool, cold, and dispassionate. And that's because it's an objective experience right now. So it's not exciting me. My emotions aren't getting excited because it isn't about me. It's about the truth that I'm seeing.
Okay.
So it's I am, the person is Bekriros. The person at large is at this stage unmoved and not excited and cool, calm. I don't, on the emotional, personal level, because the experience here is the truth, is the idea, the world of ideas. Then it can come down to the heart. But what he's saying is, it's not like Seichel and Midas fundamentally have no shaykhs. And if they had no shaykhs, then for Seichel to produce Midas would be some magical Yesh Ma'ayin process. It's not so. In Seichel already, in true Seichel, there is some kind of hergish, a feeling of sense, but that's all in the world of intellect. It's the emotions of the intellect. And so it's still Bekriros. The person is still dispassionate at this level and cold and unmoved. He's just considering and contemplating the idea. He's thinking about something else that he has now understood. He's entertaining something else, not himself. But then this hergish, but there's a hergish there. There's a wow factor. In a beautiful idea, there's wow. A smile, a raise a head. I mean, there's a response, even a physiological response, but it's all in the world of the mind. But then from this hergish, that becomes this hergish is the cause of the emotional response as he thinks about it further. There's a whole meditation process and then applies it to himself. He goes through the whole process of bina and then das. Already, actually, binas are still here. We're talking about bina right now already. But then is the das process that where he applies it to himself, takes ownership and it's personal, then the heart starts to respond. So when he feels the intellectual feeling, first there's an excitement, and it's intellectual excitement, a feeling in the mind. The excitement that is on the intellectual level, that's the result itself, from the resonance, from the feeling. So there's intellectual excitement. But that itself is a result of, when he first understood it, it resonated and attached him emotionally in the world of Seichel. And that is very close. It's all happening in the mind. That's a very close cause and effect. First of all, the beauty of the idea, and then then comes the litov. That's the litov. He's enjoying the beauty of the idea. How good this is for me. So
this is all in Seichel.
This is all in Seichel. There's two stages in Seichel. There's Kirvas Elikim Tov and Kirvas Elikim Litov, which in Avodah this is necessary. First, the objective is bondedness on the beauty and truth of Elikus, and then this is my God. This is they wish to talking to me and wants a relationship with me. That's Kirvas Elikim Litov. But that's all still in the world of the intellect, and they're both an emotional response. The first one is a very deep resonating the truth, and the second one is more personal, but it's still within the realm of intellect. And that's a Ilav Ola, which is a close cause and effect. They're not worlds apart. It's all in the mind. First, the wow of the truth of the idea, and then the wow of this is connected to my life. This is talking to me. So that's still in the mind. That's B'derech Ilav Ola, but B'derech Kirov. Yes, we're good, folks. We're not, yeah? Excuse me a moment.
So, Rabbi New?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying you have the intellectual appreciation, that is the etzem of the emotional appreciation?
Yeah. And now we're saying the intellectual appreciation has two stages. This is still in the mind. The appreciation objectively and the appreciation subjectively, they're still in the mind as you contemplate how this truth has bearing on your life, but it's still in the mind. And if that's done, the contemplation continues, and we think about it a lot, and with the orientation of how it applies to me, then the heart starts to respond, and we start to get excited about it. Sometimes the idea is just so obviously good for me that it doesn't take a big hisbonenus. When it comes to physical things, you know, you don't need, and you discover something that can improve your life or that you want, you know, there's no big process to go from seichel to midas. When it comes to likus, of course, that's avodah. That takes avodah, because Hashem is hidden, it's abstract, and to think about his presence and involvement and his desires and his relationship with me and his purpose, this requires a lot of hisbonenus, a lot of thinking. But in that thinking process, that intellectual process, there's the two levels. The first is the hergish and the truth of it all, and then the hergish of the truth as it speaks to me. And that this hergish then becomes the hergish of the heart, the feeling of the heart, through assiduous avodah. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, Elsa.
Sorry. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Continuing. A beautiful turnout, Baruch Hashem, I can see on the today. That's wonderful. Good to see everybody, even if I don't see you physically, but I see your presence. Okay. Yeah. And now this feeling, this feeling of the mind, this appreciation, this feeling in the mind is now drawn to the heart. But this is already a bigger step. This is a distant step. It doesn't happen so easily. It needs a lot of hisbonenus, a lot of thinking, a lot of meditation, depending on the idea, certainly when it comes to ruchnius, to move the heart. So that's a distant cause and effect. But that's still a natural, it's a natural chain reaction. It's a process where the cause produces the effect because there's something in common. There's something in common. The cause produces that which it really has, now developing it on a whole new level that manifests in the result or in the effect. So it's not like intellect and again, and emotion are fundamentally different worlds. They're not. In the intellect itself, there's already the union of emotion and hergish as we just described. Therefore, as we said earlier about the sweetness in the mazel that produces the sweetness of the apple, the sweetness of the mazel as it goes through the process of tzimtzum will only produce sweetness, nothing else. Likewise, a particular idea will only produce a particular emotion, not something else. And moreover, seichel will only produce emotions because they are interrelated. They're the same stuff at the end of the day, or they share, not the same stuff, but they share the same common elements. Midas don't come in a vacuum. They come as a development of a very subtle level of midas that exists already in seichel. Whereas yesh ma'ayin comes in a vacuum, as we'll see at the end.
The seichel is yesh ma'ayin.
No.
So what's the process of developing the seichel before the midas?
That's also not yesh ma'ayin. That comes from keich hamaskil. We said. We trace it all back to the etzem hanefesh. There's no process of yesh ma'ayin anywhere here. It's all ilah v'olah. That's what he's saying.
Okay.
It's all not something out of thin air, out of nothing. Out of nothing means no traceable. Out of nothing means no traceable cause. Ilah v'olol is a traceable cause. If you have the olol, you can work back and understand where it comes from. The olol itself tells you and points to its cause. Here it is. Here's the cause, and you can understand the cause. Yesh ma'ayin, as we'll see later, you look at the yesh, and there's no way in the world to grasp, understand, or trace back how this exists. The ayin is totally beyond it, and it's radical. But we're going ahead, right? Let's wait till we get to yesh ma'ayin. Yes, we're good, folks. Yeah, we'll continue. So that's why that's why when the intellect produces something, it produces the same thing, not something else. It's an emotion to this thing, and it produces only emotions because of their inherent relationship and inherent commonality. It's that very feeling in the mind that will produce that same feeling in the heart, not something else. And the excitement of the intellect will produce the excitement of the heart. Identify two levels. There's the hergish and seichel, that sense, that resonates. That's what produces the sense of the heart. And the excitement of the seichel, there's the wow factor, where there's a beautiful idea that you've discovered, that produces the wow, the manifested excitement in the heart. In other words, in emotions too, it's not just, there's levels to emotion. There's the manifested excited state of the emotion, and then there's a much deeper hergish sense of the emotion. That's not manifested in excitement, but still a very emotional connection, but it's a deep feeling. A deep feeling as opposed to a manifested expression of excitement, of love, or awe, etc. And that's traced to the two levels of excitement, quote unquote, or hergish in the mind. Continuing. Since the whole process at the end of the day is cause and effect, therefore, when seichel is going to be working as it should be, it's going to produce midas. That's what it produces, emotions. Sometimes we see that it doesn't. I understand something and I remain unmoved. My heart is not responding. So he says that's for external reasons. If they were only not, he's talking now in Avodas Hashem. In Avodas Hashem, if you learn about the likus and you understand it, so the nature of seichel is it's going to produce midas. So why doesn't it? On occasion, we hope, only on occasion. So he says, he's from Tanya, that's because Timtum HaMoyach, the mind is literally blocked. The Timtum HaLev, and the heart is blocked. And they explains in Tanya, that's because of repeated indulgence in Dvarim Gashmim, in physical material things, in bodily things. Not even sinful necessarily, just indulgence in it. And a world that is a world of Gashmis, is a person whose life is defined by Gashmis, and that's what excites him, the gain of it, or the lack thereof. So obviously to be moved by Ruchnistic things is a very tall order. There's a blockage, what's this? He knows it in the mind, but the heart doesn't respond because his heart is immersed in Dvarim Gashmi. Now Rebbe Tanya gives us all these aids how to open up the mind and open up the heart. We learned about this recently in Tanya. But if not for that, if the mind was supple and responsive, and there's also Timtum HaMoyach, there's also a person has an IQ. He has the IQ to understand, but he learns it and it's just not moved, not even intellectually. There's not even a wow factor intellectually, because that's a blockage of the mind. So that, they're external factors. But if the mind is operating innocently and the heart is innocent, then the mind would respond and the heart would respond to a likus, and the midas would be born. The fee, because that's what seichel does. Seichel, when resonant and fully expressed, produces feelings in the heart, because already in the seichel, the excitement begins. It stirs intellectually and then manifests fully expressed in the heart. Now, in the Eilumas, we're good. Now, that is so likewise, the whole chain reaction of worlds. And it's a chain reaction. A chain reaction means it's inevitable. One's going to produce the other. Because the reaction exists in a latent form in the cause. It's not something else. So likewise, in the Ishtalshalas of Eilumas, we're talking now of Biyah. Hey, the Dugmas HaMachshava VaDibur, their counterpart in the person is Machshava and Dibur. I'm sorry, I missed some lines here. Go back. So Shazel Gamkim B'derech Ila V'Olo, that's also Ila V'Olo. Even though Yitzir is very far from Bria, but nonetheless, it's not it's not an infinite gulf that separates them. Ad, first bringing the distance. Ad Shemalchus, the Bria Nasis Keser Yitzir, it's the Malchus, the lowest level of Bria that becomes the crown. For Yitzir, that's the point. Malchus becomes the crown. They are connected. As it's known in our own, the parallel in our own nefesh. What's the parallel? Bri is like the world of machshava within the person, and you see the world of speech. And speech is not produced from thought in a way of something from nothing. It only reveals that which was latent, concealed in machshava, namely, those words that you choose to speak when you actually talk. So those letters and words were, before you spoke, klulim incorporated in the letters and thoughts, in the letters and words of speech. Although it's a far world from the actual physical words that you produce, but it exists. There is the idea of letters and words in machshava. You think in language. You use language to think. And then it goes from the concealed state in your mind, in your thoughts, to the articulated, manifested, revealed state of speech. So likewise, so the whole process of biyah, from bri yitzira to then to asiya, it's all this chain reaction of cause and effect. Bottom line, in summary, we talk about ilav olam, we're not talking about a fundamentally new entity. But the effect, the result, it did exist in a latent form in the cause. And when it emerges independent, it's really emerging from a state of concealment. Therefore, after it emerges, it is independent and doesn't need the cause. Let me explain this. When you speak, the word itself doesn't need in a direct way, the thought behind it. The emotion, once expressed, you don't need the whole bonus the whole time going on your head to produce the emotion. As we'll see, Yeshmai needs this constant investment, but not so. On the contrary, as you learned earlier, once the emotion is born, if you go back to the thinking about it, you'll just quell the emotion. The emotion's got to be allowed to have its own space. You've got to move away from the world of intellect and then experience the emotional experience. To go back to the isbonenus, will like douse the fire. Why doesn't it need the constant attention? Because it's not something fundamentally new. This emotion existed already in the seichel. So it doesn't need as we'll see, when it comes to Yeshmai, it needs the constant investment. Because something from nothing is nothing. And for it to continue to endure, it needs that creative force to bring it into being in a very active, invested way. The moment that the cause, not cause and effect, sorry about Yeshmai, the moment the creative force is removed from its constant active involvement in bringing that which it creates into being, the thing fundamentally disappears. Why? Because that which it creates has no connection to it. It's got to will it into being. It's got to create it all the time. We'll see more about this later. But ilu v'olol, seichel and midas. So once the midas come, it's a whole. Once the world of emotion is expressed, it's a whole world for itself, and the cause has to recede to the background to allow the emotions to emerge. And on some manifested level, on a conscious level, the emotions take on a world of its own. It's now my feelings, now the heart, and the isbonenus, the awareness, the understanding that gave birth to it all recedes to the background. Like parents who give birth to children. At some level, the children are independent. They come from the parents. It all comes from the tip of the father, etc. But then, the children are independent of the parents. And the paradox is their independence is precisely because they're not something other entirely. It's not something other entirely. This is all just one hemshech. So when it's in one hemshech, it doesn't need the original cause to be constantly there to justify its existence. Right? We'll explore this further in Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow. This idea, certainly in contrast with Ilo v'Olol Yesh Ma'ayin, which needs the constant involvement, no receding to the background in any way.
Are you implying that father to child or parents to child is Ilo v'Olol?
On one level, it's very close to Yesh Ma'ayin, but it's not really. It's Ilo v'Olol, yeah. On the one hand, creation of the child is Yesh Ma'ayin, relatively speaking, but not fundamentally. It's not fundamentally Yesh Ma'ayin. In essence, we don't create out of nothing. It's all a process of Ilo v'Olol, but it's a very radical process. You know, so the Ilo v'Olol is very far. The original koich ruchni that the father possesses to create, it's in the tippa that the mother has, you know, is eons away from the actual emergence of a physical child. It's eons away, but it's still Ilo v'Olol. Only the Eibishter can create Yesh Ma'ayin. We have certain, you know, proximities like the creation of the child, but it's a proximity, only external proximity. But fundamentally, it's only B'cheika Atzmos. Only the essence of the Eibishter himself can create from nothing, which means absolutely zero relationship between the creator and the created. And the paradox is, because there's absolutely no connection, it needs a constant, the constant creation is required. Whereas Ilo v'Olol, the Olol recedes to the background. Again, we'll continue that in Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow with further, God willing, with further elaboration. Okay? But I do hope that we're getting something here. Yes? Yeah.